I'm telling you,
It's
it's
all
getting to the roots now. Okay, so ready, steady, go. And of course, it's that time of the week where we talk about everything that's happy and nice and good that's happening in this world. And I know it's sometimes detrimental, but I always believe the more that we are happy, the merrier we will be, is how I look at it. And of course, I have Pooja, Sanjay, and Sangeeta with me today to do just that. So let's start off. It's today's theme is about happiness and how you can build on happiness and how you can live a happy life no matter what. Pooja, in the meantime, how would you define your happiness? How would you look at it?
I think happiness is a byproduct for me of a certain discipline or maybe a certain daily routine that you follow, every day. So the byproduct of that generally, like I have experienced, is happiness. If you start your day with an intention that you're going to focus on love and compassion and other positive aspects in your life, I think the byproduct of that would be happiness. It's worked for me. I don't know if it works for others as
It's a
well.
conglomerate of a lot of things, is what you're saying, right?
Yes, exactly.
Sanjay, how do you define your happiness?
I'm slightly skeptic about spreading happiness or being happy within myself or outside. Why I'm skeptic, because as sentient being, and that thou art, I always put Vedanta into it. Sat Chit Anand, that person who is pure consciousness, bliss, and existence, and we are that sentient being. We don't need to be sort of seek or chase happiness. As a when we are in the waking life, waking world, like a present moment, we chase happiness. Otherwise, as a sentient being, as that Sachit Anand person, we don't need to chase happiness. But nevertheless, when we are in the waking stage of life, like the present life, in the material life, so there are two aspects to it. One is, what are we seeking when we are chasing happiness? Is it a temporary happiness are we seeking, or is it the permanent happiness that are we seeking? Whenever you sort of attach reason to happiness, reason can be taken off, and then happiness becomes ephemeral. For example, somebody feeling hungry, you give him food, he is happy for 2 days, 3 days, or maybe one day, or maybe one meal thereafter. He's happy, and once he gets that meal, he's happy, but again he gets hungry. So again he needs to chase happiness to be fed properly and everything. So that is very temporal, that is very ephemeral, that is very finite. Whereas all what I am looking at is happiness, which is a real happiness. When we detach our ego or ego mind or ego being from the happiness, that would be the ultimate
That would be the
happiness, and that
ultimate,
would
yes.
be
That's actually very true.
and that would be the when you go to the spiritual realm, then
Then
you realize that okay, all other things are like ephemeral, whereas the
I
ultimate
wouldn't,
is
I
ultimate.
wouldn't even, Sanjay, wouldn't even take it to the spiritual realm. I'll keep it in this realm. And how I look at it is very simple. When you're at peace with yourself, yeah, when there is calm within, okay, and you love yourself, it flows from there. I think it is an innate soul purpose of yours to be calm, to be at peace with yourself. That peace will radiate, that peace will flow out in the form of happiness, in the form of gratitude, in the form of giving, in the form of unconditional love. All of that flows from there. And I mean, that's my reading of it, and that's something that I have lived my life with, and I know best. So happiness to me is that. Happiness to me is every moment, because every moment, if you're at peace with yourself, no matter what is happening around you, no matter if there is a COVID, no matter if jobs are going, no matter if your money is not there, no matter if somebody is screaming at you, you are at peace with yourself. And that person is an external stimuli, or whatever is happening around you is a circumstance. It's an external stimuli to what's happening to you. That's how I look at it.
But let
Okay.
me, but
Yeah, sure, sure,
let
sure.
me also add to let me add to it. How can you be happy in an island of happiness surrounded by an ocean of misery? So when you are happy, fantastic, you are happy, you make other people happy. But when you are so much of misery and suffering and malice and everything in the world. Just being happy also, is it selfishness? But
It is.
when
May I
you see,
answer that?
Yeah, sure.
May I take that?
yeah, please.
Sanjay, Rumi has a beautiful saying that talks about this. He says, when all is dark around you, look again. You might be the light.
That's true.
Which is very true.
That's true. There has to be.
Sorry, you
Yeah,
you
so I
would
mean, there
have to
has to
be
be
that
that
light.
one. You have to be that light. You have to be that one wherein there's one, and then you add zero becomes 10. Add one more zero becomes 100. That's understandable. But in the present scenario, in the waking state that I always talk of, I mean, is it possible to be happy when everybody else is happy? And who creates unhappiness? Problem with us is, like, we create unhappiness in the lives of others, and then we say, oh, unhappiness, unhappiness, and unhappiness everywhere. Then we start chasing happiness. Why can't we be the sentient being that the pure consciousness, bliss and existence, and behave like that, so that thou art, you know that I am Brahman. If you believe in that philosophy, I mean, you will never like to hurt anybody else, right?
That's right.
So
So
you
it won't be.
are
You won't really be going.
happy, and you make sure that others are also happy at the same time.
True. You won't be going out of your way to to affect somebody in any form. And even if I always see that if unhappiness exists around you, that at the end of the day is not your karma. You can give to that circumstance love, you can give gratitude, you can give out of an internal happiness that you have, but it is never your karma. So you can't blame yourself. You can't say, oh my god, am I responsible for it and what am I doing about it? I don't think it works. Swapnil is joining us. Swapnil, thanks, and welcome to you. Swapnil, my first question to everybody was, what is happiness to you? What is the essence of happiness to you? So I'd like to hear what you have to say about
I think that's a very deep question, and I don't feel I'm qualified enough to answer that because there's still a lot of discovery happening as far as that is concerned. So,
it. Okay, but I don't think what is if it was to be just a line that you think this is where I derive happiness from, where would that be? Is what I'm asking. I mean, no, it's not a
it would
qualification. I'm sure none of us are qualified out here for that.
I think it would probably be contentment with things the way they are and not grasping for things as they are not. That would be happiness for me personally, where, like, I could be happy with where I am and not look forward or not look behind. So that would be my ideal definition of happiness.
Lovely. That is the ideal definition, to accept. I think acceptance is also a very large part of where we are today. The other thing that I was wanting to know, speak to you about, is happiness is also something that either affects us or sadness affects us, and a lot of it is propagated from the outside today. So for instance, how do you guys deal with the sheer magnitude of information that is coming at you? I'm going to take Sanjay on this first.
You're talking about the social media, the effect of social
Media, news, television, what have you. Wherever you go, it is the same thing.
Yeah, so we need to cut down on the bad effects of social media, whatever. But then at the same time, we need to use it very constructively and very effectively.
That's right.
For example, in the times of pandemic, when people are isolated, and there are people who live alone, we need to reach out to them through like what we are doing right now. We are reaching out to each other and trying to spread happiness. So reach out to them, be with them, and tell them that we are there for you. And this is how we should use the social media, rather than getting all the negative information that is already there in the realm of social media. And you know what I mean.
Very true. Very true. Pooja, how do you choose to deal with the information that comes at you?
So you see, Denzel, in today's digital age, we've been so bombarded by information, that's just thrown at us, as opposed to the conventional way when we would reach out to information. Here now, the information is just coming to us through various media, so we need to filter what kind of information we need to use and consciously make a decision. This is the, for example, the pandemic news as well. It's the media portrays it in such a grim and, morbid kind of information. You don't want to wake up to that kind of news early, the first thing in the morning. So you need to pick and choose how much information you need for yourself, because then you are more able to equip yourself, to deal with the stress that's already existing. Visualize a better world, probably a pandemic-free world. And we can't change it, but you'll be better equipped to handle with it and not, get stressed out about the whole situation.
Right. What about you, Sangeeta?
Well, that's a
Pooja,
loaded question.
audio.
I think I need, sorry, please go ahead, Sanjay.
No, Pooja, the audio is switched off. Okay, now, okay.
No, it's
Is
okay
that we
because
good to go?
I got it, so it's not a problem.
Can you hear
good to
me
go,
now?
Sangeeta.
Yes, I can, Pooja.
Yeah, I can as well.
I think as far as news is concerned, I worked sort of as an editor and I worked in the area of news for a very long time. And one can filter as much as one likes, but I just have to be human and admit that some days I take it well and some days I don't take it well. And some days I get upset about it and some days I try and go, okay, everything's going to be fine. And that's just part of the human experience of going through something, unprecedented in any of our histories, really. This pandemic has absolutely thrown us all for a loop. And there is no, I think, right way or wrong way of handling it. There's just a way, as Swapnil very beautifully said, of accepting it for what it is, trying to do your best every single day. I think one of the greatest, especially through my work in counseling, one of the greatest things I've seen is there is a huge amount of loneliness that has become as bad as the virus. It's spreading faster than the virus, to be honest. And so what I try and do is I reach out to people who I know are living alone. I make at least about 7 to 8 phone calls a day. I talk to people. I try and have a chat. And, that's as much as I can really do right now.
Very true. And
You
I
can
think
do whatever you
reaching
can
out is a
wherever
big
you
thing.
are.
That's true. Okay, Swapnil, what is your take on all the stuff that we're getting through media? How do we handle that constructively?
Okay. I don't know about everyone else, but me personally, I have like a buffer day. So I take a day off media in a week. And a lot of the devices which I have, I filter out the unnecessary news that I feel is not conducive to my well-being. Like if I look at it and I don't feel happy, it's not like I'm trying to filter out the world. That would be very stupid.
Yeah.
But as far as the bombardment of news goes, I do put a big buffer on your Googles or your Facebooks or your Instagrams or whatever else, your Twitters, and I only follow stuff which I feel is necessary, where I should keep abreast of the world and
Very
not
true.
have it take over my mind. So, and I do keep one day off cell
I think
phones and televisions and the internet.
that's a brilliant thing that you do, is to take one day off. And also I think that another thing that we should do is not wake up to the news. I used to wake up to the news, and especially since I'm from the media, there is I think in all of us there is a little bit of a voyeur. So you wake up and you say, okay, what's happening with the news? Let's check out the headlines, let's check out the big stories, let's check out everything that's happening. And then you come to a stage where you're spending 1 hour at 6:30 in the morning really reading that, and you're telling yourself, no, I don't think I want to do that anymore. So the filtration is very important. Also, I think that we can't live without knowledge. So getting the right knowledge from the right source is very, very important. I think that tells us a lot, because you see, सांत्वना जिसे कहते हैं, or calm, or just a feeling of peace comes from knowledge as well. Because unless we have the right knowledge, and unless we know that okay, you can reason with the fact that there is a pandemic. So you should get the right knowledge on the thing, but not be excessive about it. It's not like you need to know every single thing that's happening in every single corner of the world. So that's how I look at it as far as the news is concerned. And I think that's the best. Filter out the news, keep in as much as you can, and just deal with it as you go along, because I don't think there's a better way to do it. Okay, so suppose you guys had a mantra for building happiness within yourselves. What would that system or that mantra be? How would you deal with, say, a world like today, to bring happiness into your lives? Because if we tend to get bogged down by it, what is your way of building on happiness? Pooja?
Denzel, I think when we wake up in the morning, I heard somebody saying, there was this great master who said that we wake up with a very finite amount of energy unless we are tuned into, a higher state of our being. We have a very finite amount of energy throughout the day. So it's up to us how we allocate that, and how we use that consciously throughout the day. Where do you want to focus your energy? So it depends on where you want to focus your energy. If you're focusing on something negative, which is detrimental to your well-being and your health, then obviously, like I said earlier, the byproduct of that will not be happiness. So we need to consciously be very mindful throughout the day and pick and choose how much positivity we want in the day, how we can make a difference to other sentient beings, focus more on love and compassion. And I remember the 80s song, remember, don't worry, be happy. So that's my mantra, if you ask me.
Got a little song I wrote, might want to sing it note for note, but don't worry, be happy. Good.
Happy.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely song. That's really, really a nice song. Sangeeta, what is your formula for happiness? How do you build happiness within yourself?
Again, a loaded question. I'd like to build on what Pooja said, actually. I'd like to add to that by saying, I think practicing gratitude, despite all the troubles around us, we have so much to be grateful for, each and every one of us. So much for friends, family, for love and compassion, for this meeting. And it's so easy to get bogged down by ego, by, hedonistic sort of pursuits of momentary pleasures. And we completely stop to forget, the loyalty of a friend, the gratitude that you should be showing people. And I don't think gratitude is an emotion, gratitude is an action. And when you practice that in a daily way, I think it just somehow lifts you out of this realm of human experience in a very sublime way, I think. I could be wrong.
No, you're perfectly right. Very, very true. Sanjay, what do you do? What's your mantra?
I think I call it 4 A's of happiness. The A number 1 is attention,
Right.
paying attention or being mindful of what you do, what you receive, just be mindful of it. The second is affection. Whatever you see, like you're being offered food, be affectionate towards food. That is another one, that is another A. And then appreciation. Appreciate whatever somebody is doing something for you, please appreciate that. That is a beautiful thing to do. That is another one. And the next one is acceptance. Acceptance meaning whatever is thrown at you or presented to you, just accept it the way it is. Don't have to change it. That is my 4 A's of happiness. And to add to it, whenever I open up to people, whenever I meet people, laugh, smile, and talk to them nicely. See, this reminds me of Guruji. Our Guruji, the one thing, I met him a few days back. One thing I learned from him was out of the whole, he's a spiritual guy, he knows a lot of things. But one good thing which I learned from him, he smiles. He not only smiles, he laughs. He not only laughs, he laughs wholeheartedly with a wholesome laughter, with a roaring laughter, and which is so contagious. And he, whatever topic, he's always laughing. That's the best thing to do. When you open up to people with laughter, what else do you need in life?
Very, very true. I don't think it could be summed up better than this. I really don't think. Swapnil,
Nice.
what is your take on how do you keep yourself happy?
I keep myself happy. I would say small things in life, really. A meditation practice brings a lot of happiness because you get a lot of insight from it, and that would be key. And I would say, it's a little difficult again. Like, you tend to evolve a lot over the years if you stick by certain things, right? So I've realized sticking to a meditation practice generally tends to make me more appreciative of people, whereas I would have been an obnoxious snob earlier. I tend to empathize more with people on that. People say you are really enlightened if you are living with your parents and you can, you can withstand them. So withstanding your people, your family near you, and having compassion to them, because you definitely feel like you want to kick them on the ass on days, right? So those are a couple of things which they make you feel more humane towards people, and they really do get the beauty out in things like, appreciating your own family, appreciating your own people, having a wholesome meditative practice, being generous, and, overall just leading a moral life without being too preachy about it. I would say like that
Very
is
true.
the best thing you
Nice.
can do for yourself or for everyone.
Very, very true. I'd say I'd sum it up by saying one very little thing, and that's about a movie that whose title I love a lot, and it's called Eat, Pray, Love. If you eat well,
Julia Roberts.
yeah, Julia Roberts. देखो संजय को सब पता है, संजय को सब पता
I
है.
watched it last month. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you eat well, if you pray well, and if you love wholeheartedly, I don't think anything escapes you. It is bound to it brings us a lot of happiness as human beings, and that's technically what we are. And I have one thing to add to all of this, and that is that through life, I'd say keep it simple. The simpler you keep your life, the simpler you keep every day of your life, the simpler you go about it, the easier it will be for you. And when it's easier for you, automatically generates happiness, So just to add to what Sanjay said, I'd say that's the one other thing that
What do you mean by simpler exactly?
break it down to the bareness. Okay, there are only so many universal laws. For instance, the universal law of love, the way I look at it is that if I love myself, I love somebody outside of me automatically. I love each circumstance, each moment, no matter what that might be, automatically. So that's a universal law. So it's just keeping all of those really, really simple rules that are given to us by life, and not complicating it, bringing them down to minimalistic, as Sangeeta would say. That's how I would look at it. The minimalistic, easy life, and you'll not have a problem. It'll be with the flow because you'll be one with the universe, is how I look at it.
Interesting.
Declutter your life.
That's right. Exactly. Okay. So one last thing, and that is, if you were to tell anybody in today's world what they need to do to be happy, what would be that one thing that would make them happier today as we are? What would that be? Let's start with Sangeeta.
Anyone? Just anybody we met or somebody specific?
Specific or general, that's your choice. But what would you tell them? What's the best way to be happy? What's the one way to be happy?
I would say one of the key things that a lot of people need to learn to do, including myself, is to learn to realize what is toxic for you and what isn't toxic for you, and to walk the path that is non-toxic for you.
Excellent. That is deep, like deep. Very good. Okay, Pooja, what would that one thing be for you? That you'd say, okay, this is one thing that I think right now. Yeah, sorry.
Denzel, I may sound very esoteric, but I think that really is the key, because within us, we have an infinite source of energy. We just need to tune into that and know that it's there, and know that that is the true source of happiness and joy. So probably just tune into yourself, go within, and you will be a much happier human being, and you'll be able to generate that happiness all around you.
Excellent. Sanjay.
I love you.
Oh, that says it all, doesn't it? It kind of sums everything up. And
Yeah.
I love you unconditionally would kind of sort it, like totally sort it,
Sort it.
right? I love you unconditionally just the way you are. That's exactly the way it is. Prashant says that my video is not working. Oops. Okay, lovely. Yes, Shrikant, what would your mantra be?
Swapnil.
I think it's
Swapnil, yeah.
Swapnil, I think it's
Swapnil.
sorry, Swapnil, I
Just
got
a
it
sec,
wrong.
just a
Sorry,
sec.
my mistake.
I'm a little zoomed.
Okay.
Know yourself.
Know yourself.
Be yourself.
Excellent.
Like, those are probably the most difficult things in the world. Like, knowing yourself is the toughest thing you will ever do in your life, and ever. I don't think there can be anything tougher than that. Like, coming to grips with who you are, it'll take, I don't know how many multitudes of lifetimes for, like, for
That's
you
very
to actually realize that.
That's very, very true. A lot of time we spend almost our whole lifetime, and sometimes I get surprised by the fact that, is this me? You kind of ask yourself, is that me? I mean, I never thought I'd react in this manner, bad or good, both ways. But I just have one thing, and I always this was something that I was taught to as a kid, and I think it's something that I'm going to sum everything up. And sometimes you're just not happy inside. So what do? So my mother used to say, even if you're not happy inside, if you're happy and you know it, that even if you're not happy right now, you will be happy tomorrow, clap your hands. So we'll end with that. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, and please everybody clap your hands. That's the idea,
I'll
because
pat myself on the shoulder.
you can pat yourself on the shoulder. Yes, you can do that as well. But guys, that I think is sums it all up. The inside is where the happiness needs to come on, and you can bring it out and show it to the world and make the world a better place. And it happens in small things. It happens in small actions. It happens in maybe just the twinkling of an eye. So that's the level. Thank you so much for joining me today, and it was brilliant. Thank you everybody very much, and God bless you all, and have a wonderful week for yourselves.
Thank you, Denzel.
And we will see you
Thank you, Denzel.
next week, same time, same place.